I'm delighted to introduce Raj Singh, who's Managing Director of JetBlue Technology Ventures. Welcome, Raj.
Thank you for having me.
We're just going to use this 10 minutes to introduce the next panel session, where we're going to be speaking to people who are out there supporting startups and get some views on how that is going and how the market is for startups at the moment in travel. But we just thought we'd ask Raj to set the scene a little bit. So I've got a few questions. Firstly, obviously, we've had an incredible year and a lot's happened with the COVID crisis. What's that done to your view as JetBlue in terms of your outlook for startups and the way you'll support startups going forward? Has it changed anything, or are you carrying on as you were before?
Well, at the practical level, it has changed a lot in the sense of a lot of our time this year has been spent on helping our startups who have been, at the, in the eye of the storm, if you like, through no fault of their own. And so, yes, practically speaking, we've spent a lot of time supporting startups on things such as the government assistance programs that might be out there, on helping them to retool their business model in order to be able to be more successful in the environment as it is today. For us personally, as a financial institution, we've dialed back our ambitions on new investing and focused primarily on supporting the portfolio, because we believe that it's that's probably our number one concern right now. And to make investments in this period is going to be extremely difficult in terms of judging how successful a startup might be, given we don't have a good handle on how the future looks right now, but less of a handle even than we might have ordinarily. So yes, it's been a big impact, and JetBlue Technology Ventures has two parts to it. One is on the operations side, and the other is on the investment side. So we have put a lot of our focus on the operations side to help the startups get through what has been an existential crisis for most of them.
Sure. So if you're looking to sort of scale back on that investment side of things, do you think that's a general picture in the market? And how do you think startups are going to fare trying to find investors and investment in the next few months going forward? Is it going to be more of a shortfall generally?
Yes, I think that is probably a general trend in the travel and transportation industry. There will be fewer new investments made than there would have been normally. I think for startups, that means that those at the very early stages can probably still get some level of funding. However, it will most likely be from those people that they already know. And of the new investments made more broadly, I think a lot of them will go to later stage startups who already have shown that they have a successful business model. And so those startups have all been requested by their current investors to have more money in the bank than they would normally. And so for a new investor, giving them money so that they have 36 months of runway as opposed to 24 is probably a safer bet. So I would expect that there will be certain level of very early stage investments, but primarily from friends and family. And then the majority of the money in our industry, or at least, will go to those later stage companies who are looking to pad the coffers to make sure that they can survive the downturn.
Okay. And do you see opportunities emerging from the crisis that travel's gone through that maybe weren't there before, or areas of focus that you think have emerged that we should look at, or if you're a startup and entrepreneur that you should be focusing on?
Yes, every cloud has a silver lining. In this case, what's been very clear is things around contactless have become very prominent. So this has been a movement that already had started before COVID hit. So the concept of biometric boarding, for example, and that is only accelerated now because people are uneasy and correctly about frequent contact with new surfaces, and so the ability to get a passenger all the way through the process onto the plane, for example, without having to touch anything is going to be a big area. And I think that will expand into hotels, reception lobbies, and so on and so forth, and even mass transportation. So that's definitely an area. Clearly sanitation, which is already something that had been high priority for the providers in the space, but that's taken a front seat now. Whereas it's something that people were doing, it's now something that people have to show that they are doing and to improve as well. And so that's an area that I think will be very, very strong in the next few years. And then the other area that we're looking at is hybridization, by which I mean some element of in-person and face-to-face, be it a vacation or a business meeting, but overlaid with the ability to have almost as good an experience by not being there, by virtually attending. And so the combination of those two types of travel is going to be big as well.
Yeah. So if we're looking for silver linings, what about how startups might be able to work with the larger corporates? If the larger corporates, as we are seeing, are focusing on their core, they've survived and they now want to get moving again, but they are going to focus on what they're good at. Are there opportunities, do you think, or will opportunities emerge there to work with those big guys, because they're going to be not going to be doing some of the things that startups might focus on? So there may be some opportunities emerging there.
I definitely think there will be an increased opportunity, not so much because the larger companies are focusing on the core, but more because they will be more open to rapidly adopting new solutions, because they require those things given how bad the situation is. And all of us want to bring travel back to normal levels again. So I think there's an increased willingness to adopt new technologies. There may be circumstances where a large provider has no choice but to go to startups to find the solutions that they're looking for. And we as an industry are very cautious, and it's a good thing. We're very cautious about putting new products in the air. In particular, we want to make sure everything is as safe as it possibly can be. But there are plenty of areas where we don't have to compromise on safety, and we could move a little bit more quickly in adopting new concepts. And so I think in terms of differentiating ourselves in the face of the customer as to what we're doing, I think startups definitely have an opportunity there. That doesn't mean that they don't still need to understand how the business works, speak the language, and think carefully about how regulations will affect them. But I think people will be more open. And the research that I've seen, and I'm sure everybody else has seen as well, clearly indicates that those companies who are innovative in a crisis will do better during the crisis, and will do better after the crisis as well, because if you like, they will build a little bit of a lead over their competitors who are solely focused on survival. So I definitely think now is a good time to be able to get into the travel majors.
Actually, I mean, crises very often do lead to a period of innovation afterwards, not least because you're going to have good access to lots of good talent out there. So a lot of talent may be leaving some of the big players and some of their jobs and be available. And we've all got used to working very remotely as we are now. So actually access to talent has never been easier in some ways. Is that one of the sort of potential silver linings of what we've seen?
I mean, yes, I think it is, although, I still believe that talent is relatively sticky. So it's hard to onboard somebody when they're thousands of miles away, and to build the company culture, which is such an important part of your success. But I do think there will be more people available. I think for me, what really is the issue is that during the crisis, people will have ideas about how to help. And some of them will leave the companies they're at and go pursue those ideas. And then after the crisis is when those ideas mature, and when they have the opportunity then to build revenues and eventually profits. So it's a natural phenomenon. And the important thing for the suppliers in the industry is to make sure that they can take advantage of those changes, and honestly bring a fresh perspective. So it's never a bad thing to hear about what other people are trying to do, and sometimes some great ideas will come out of that.
Yeah, and just finally, a quick word on the future. I mean, do you remain fairly optimistic? Travel's always attracted good entrepreneurs. It's got a very good track record of attracting people who want to be innovative and be entrepreneurial. Do you hope that will continue to be the case, even if things are going to be quite tough for a while as we recover?
I think that will be the case, but I'm not holding out hope that it will be immediate. But I think in the longer term, yes. People love traveling, and it's one of those one of the first things that people like to do after they've been able to fulfill their basic needs is, what's over that hill over there? Let's go have a look. And so I think travel will continue to be attractive for everybody. I think it'll take a little while for it to recover, but we are lucky in the travel industry in that most of the people who work in it have a passion for it. And so I don't think that's going away anytime soon. And I think that, whatever the future holds, it will be somehow different from what we expect it to be, but travel will be a part of it, virtually, in person, combination, and new other ways perhaps that I can't work out yet.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's lovely. Thanks very much for your time today, Raj. I think we all hope travel will come back and also in all our lives very soon, and you can leave Palo Alto and come and visit us over here in the UK. So thanks.
Can't wait.
Thanks
so much, Lee.
Bye bye.